Hey, happy Monday. Good morning to all my family and friends out there. I just wanted to drop a quick video today in reference to the home buying process. The reason for that is because I've had a few family and friends reach out to me recently and let me know they're either ready to buy or they're pretty close to, being ready. They're just, kind of putting their ducks in a row or whatever. So I just wanted to drop a video real quick. I do buyer consultation. I do face-to-face consultations with people I'm working with. I feel that that's really important just to make sure that everybody's on the same page and to make sure we have the best interest in mind. So if you do have any questions after this and or you feel like you're just ready to go and you want to meet, we can definitely do that. So the buyer consultation, I usually have like a questionnaire that I have a couple questions I ask just to get a good idea of your situation, what your needs are, what your must are, what your situation is. And I also have a packet that I put together, a buyer packet that I'll leave behind and, just so you can have some reading material during the process. All right. So with that said, I just wanted to just give a general basic breakdown of the process. I don't want to get too complicated with this. So it's just going to be, just based off a single family home. I don't want to, like I said, I just want to keep it simple. All right. So with that said, we could start with the first thing. The first thing is the pre-approval. You want to make sure you are pre-approved by a lender. There's a difference between a pre-approval and a pre-qualification. So just make sure you're pre-approved before you even start looking at homes. I mean, that's very important. I suggest maybe speaking to maybe 2 or 3 lenders just to get different quotes on the interest rates. It's really important, especially in the long run, especially, if you're going to stay in the house for a long time. It will be a difference between probably tens of thousands of dollars. So make sure, you get some quotes and make sure it's a lender that you're comfortable with, someone that's been around for a while, knows what they're doing. We work with a couple of people who we're very satisfied with. Our clients have been very satisfied with them, so we can, suggest a few people as well. But it's really your call. You can choose whoever you want. All right. So once you're pre-approved and you have your buyer financial information sheet filled out and everything's ready to go, we can start looking at homes. This is the fun part. Now, I always tell people just keep an open mind because depending on your situation, if you're trying to get a deal, you're more than likely going to want to get something that might need a little bit of work. Maybe something that just needs some new carpet, new paint, things like that. Even and if you have somebody that's really good with remodeling, they can help you out with the labor costs. You can even find something that needs a little updating in the kitchen or bathrooms or whatever. You can usually find a pretty good deal like that. But I do understand that not everyone's situation is like that. Some people have kids; they don't want to go through the whole remodeling situation while they're living there. So if that's your situation, or if you just don't have the budget for it, just be prepared to come in with a strong offer. This is still a seller's market. Inventory is still tight. So if you're going after a house that's completely redone and a pretty good neighborhood, chances are that you're probably going to be competing against several buyers. And as good as your agent is, it's pretty hard to get your offer accepted if you're trying to come in $5,000-$10,000 under asking price and you have 3 or 4 other buyers that went up $5,000 or $10,000 over asking. It's a numbers game. So, it could be my best friend and they're probably still not going to, accept my offer. So just make sure, when you're ready to do that, you're going to sit with your agent. For my clients, I run comps. I show them, what's going on in the neighborhood. I also, you can do whatever you like, but I'm not a huge fan of overpaying by too much because you just never know. So we'll sit down, we'll talk about, the strategy you want to go in at, what you feel comfortable paying for the home, and then we'll prepare the offer packet. And I send it over to the other party, and then we start negotiating from there. All right, so just be aware, sometimes, it might not happen. It might be someone that just came in, with really strong finances, and they just overbid by like $10,000 or something like that. And that's actually happened before. I've seen it happen. So some people, just going emotionally and, the finances just don't really matter to them. So if that does happen, don't feel bad. It's not the end of the world. It just wasn't meant to be. The right home will come along and you will find the right house and the offer will be accepted when it's the right home. So just, keep that in mind. Now, let's say it gets accepted. That's awesome. So now what happens is everyone has to do their due diligence. you're going to be under contract, and there's going to be deadlines in that contract. Now, it's really important that we stay focused on those deadlines and we meet those deadlines. And the reason for that is because if you miss a deadline on your end, that's technically a breach of contract, and the seller can, try to keep your deposit. I have an automated system that I send out to my clients that remind them of all the dates that are coming up. And I also follow up as well with a phone call and texts and things like that. So I communicate throughout the whole process. So you should be fine as far as that. So like I said, just make sure that it happens. All right. So once you're under contract, like I said, there's going to be certain deadlines. Depending on what you ask for, there's going to be contingencies in there. One of the most common contingencies is inspections. I strongly advise everyone get an inspection unless you're, a seasoned contractor and you know a lot about construction, and you feel like you just want to waive the inspection because you pretty much feel comfortable with the home and the work that it needs, and you're looking to get a better deal. You can do that. But for the most part, the majority of people out there don't have that kind of construction background and things like that. So I strongly suggest getting an inspection. We work with a couple of inspectors who we're very comfortable with. They're very detailed, they're very thorough, very honest guys. They're licensed. You can also choose someone who you want as well. I mean, it's really up to you. Just make sure you check them out, you read the reviews, make sure you talk to them. And once you've chosen an inspector, you get the inspection. Now, once you go into the inspection report, but before that, I'm sorry, let me go back a little bit. We're going to go in person. I always suggest going in person. You don't have to go, but I think it's very important that you go with the inspector. You can ask them questions. Think about it. You're paying these people, so they're working for you at this time. So I suggest going to the inspection. I go to the inspection as well. Just so we can all walk around the house and get a good idea of what's going on with it. And once that's done, I mean, they're gonna send us a report. And then once they send the report, we can sit together and really dissect the report and see what your strategy is. And if you want anything repaired, I strongly suggest that, you really focus on things that are serious things, something that's really gonna, impact you financially. I've seen people, try to throw 3 or 4 pages worth of repair requests at the seller, and majority of that stuff were just minor things that they either could have done themselves, or if they knew someone that could have did it, you could do that. Because what happens is, you can do whatever you like, but what happens if you try to throw pages worth of repairs at the seller, they're most likely going to either get offended and not want to fix anything, or they're just going to, come back and say they're just going to fix, really minimal stuff. So, my suggestion is, anything that's going to, and the inspector will tell you that. He's going to say, these are serious things. This, this will become an issue in the long run. That's the stuff you want to focus on. Anything that's a safety hazard for your family, things of that nature. But if you have a light bulb that's out in the, in the patio or something like that, just doesn't really make a lot of sense. But again, you can do whatever you like. We could throw it. You never know. It can't stick. But for the most part, in my experience, it just just doesn't really happen. All right. So let's just say, once everything is done, we put together the list of stuff you want repaired. I send it to the other party. They're probably going to do a little negotiating, saying they're going to do this, they're going to do that. There's always, the option of a credit if they don't want to do all the repairs. And that's something we can talk about in the buyer consultation. I could get in more detail about that. So let's just say the inspections go well. Everybody agrees, to the terms or whatever, and we move forward. Now, around this time, your lender's probably going to be doing an appraisal as well. The appraisal is for them to protect themselves. And let's just say, God forbid, something happened to you and you lost your job or whatever, and you got ill and you can't pay your mortgage, and the lender has to, take the house back and try to sell it. Well, if you overpaid by a lot, and it's going to make it really difficult for that lender to sell that home and get that money back. They're not in the business of trying to sell and buy homes. They're in the business of lending money. So they just want to protect themselves, just to make sure that, the home appraises for what the market is asking for around there. Okay. Now, depending on your kind of loan, they're probably going to ask for a few repairs to be done as well. So, for example, FHA might ask for certain things, such as, if there's peeling paint or if there aren't any railings. I mean, it all depends. Everyone's going to be different, but for the most part, they might ask for a few minor things here and there. Conventional loan, not so much. So it's going to depend on your loan. All right, so let's say the appraisal comes back. Let's assume everything goes well. The house appraises for the price that you want to pay for. Let's say the repairs, the seller's okay with the repairs that the lender wants. They're going to send somebody out again to re-inspect it, make sure everything looks good. If it does, your lender, this is the part where you have to work with your lender very closely. Your lender is going to ask you for, certain documents to submit to underwriting. It's really important that you submit this as quickly as possible, because underwriting will not give the okay to go forward with the loan if you don't submit all the documents they need, especially in a timely manner. All right, so it's really important that this is the part where you need to just communicate with your lender and just send them everything they need. All right, so let's just assume appraisals went well. House appraised, you submitted everything to the lender that they asked for. It's an underwriting, and now let's just assume that the underwriter gave the thumbs up and gave the okay. The mortgage commitment is what we call it. So let's just say everything went well with that. All right. Now what you want to do is, now we're going to do a walkthrough. So I like to do 2 walkthroughs. It's really up to you. You can do 1 or 2. The contract says that you can do 2. So we can do either 5 to 7 days prior to settlement, just to make sure that everything you asked to be fixed is fixed, and just make sure that the house looks good. And then we also do a walkthrough the day before and the day of. This is just to make sure that we check all the little final details. And if there's anything on there, we can just write it down. I always have a little checklist with me, and then I take it, and I usually just call the agent just to try to, get everything worked out before we go to settlement. It's still not the end of the world. At settlement, we can still, make other arrangements. But like I said, we can discuss that during the buyer consultation. All right, so that's pretty much it. Once you go to closing, your lender is going to have a ton of paperwork for you to fill out. Once everything's filled out, everything looks good, and the bank approves the paperwork, and you have the clear to go, you get the keys to the house, and you can start enjoying your new home. So just to recap really quickly. First thing, get pre-approved. Second thing, start looking at homes. Once you find the house you like, we're going to make an offer. Really important that we come in, we talk about the offer and, come in at a number you're comfortable with, and also something that, depending on the house and the neighborhood, you want to make sure there's a good strategy there. All right, let's say once that goes through, and you have a contingency in there to get a home inspection, we're going to go through home inspections. We're going to go to the inspection. We're going to ask, the inspector any questions you want to ask. Once he sends the report, he or she, we discuss the report in person. We put together a list of anything you want repaired. We send it to the other party, do a little negotiation. Hopefully everything goes well, and then we can move on to the next step, which is the appraisal. Let's say the appraisal comes back good. If they need a few repairs, we can negotiate that with them as well. And let's just say that goes well, that goes good. Next thing, you want to make sure that you start getting some insurance quotes. If you want to keep the same, insurance agent you have now for your car, you can do that. You can just combine the house with the policy. Or, I usually suggest maybe talking to 2 or 3 of them just to get some quotes. You never know. You can probably save some pretty good money depending on who you go with. So that's really going to be your call, who you choose. It's just really important that they send that policy over to the lender prior to closing, because the lender will want to make sure that the house will be covered as of the date that you take possession of it. So just make sure that policy, they send that over to them. And I'm going to follow up as well. Like I said, I have a automated system that I automate everything to make sure all the reminders go out to everybody, and I follow up as well. So, once you got the insurance quote in there, the inspections are ready to go, the appraisal came back good, make sure you start working with your lender and send them all the other documents they need so they can submit to underwriting. Let's say everything goes to underwriting. We're going to assume everything goes well, and they give the okay for the loan to go forward. After that, we're going to do a walkthrough, maybe 5 days, 7 days prior to settlement, make sure everything looks good. Let's assume everything looks good in the house. They did everything they were supposed to do. We're just going to do one more walkthrough the day before just to make sure that, they started moving everything out and everything looks good. And then we go to closing. Once you go to closing, the title company, it's either going to be the title company and lender or just the title company. Either way, you'll be fine because they'll have all the documents the lender needs. You're going to sign a ton of paperwork. It's going to be sent over to the lender. Once they get once they give the approval, you get the keys to the house, and that's pretty much it. All right. So I hope this was helpful. And again, if anybody, once you're ready, just give me a call. Like I said, we can meet up, have some lunch, dinner, whatever. We can go over the consultation, go over the process again. I'll give you the buyer's package so you have some information to read over as well, and then we can start hunting. All right, have a good day. Bye.